Did you know the largest single-train crude oil refinery in the world is located in Nigeria? With a processing capacity of 650,000 barrels of oil per day, it's a project of massive scale, and it's owned by the richest black man on earth, Aliko Dangote. Against all odds, from funding challenges to global disruptions, this refinery was completed in Nigeria, a country that, ironically, used to import nearly all of its refined fuel, despite being one of the world's largest oil producers. So how did Dangote make it happen? What were the obstacles? Who built it? And how will it reshape Nigeria and West Africa's energy future? In this video, we break it all down. Stay with me. Don't forget to click on that subscribe button and like this video, as it's the best way to support this channel. First, let's clarify something. When we say the largest single-train refinery, what does that mean? In refinery design, a train refers to a complete set of equipment that processes crude oil through various stages. Most large refineries split their capacity across multiple trains, meaning multiple distillation units and parallel systems. But a single-train refinery processes its full capacity through one integrated line. That's extremely complex to build, but also more efficient in operation. For context, the Jamnagar refinery in India has a larger overall capacity, but it's split across multiple processing trains. Dangote's refinery holds the record for the largest single train, 650,000 barrels per day through one system. It also houses the world's largest crude distillation column ever fabricated. Now, why did Nigeria need a refinery like this in the first place? Nigeria is Africa's top oil producer and one of the top 10 globally. Yet, for decades, it has imported nearly all of its refined fuel. This wasn't always the case. In the 1970s and 80s, Nigeria built refineries in Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna. But due to years of poor maintenance, mismanagement, and corruption, these facilities fell into disrepair. Billions of dollars have been spent on turnaround maintenance, but production barely improved. By the 2000s and 2010s, Nigerians were dealing with constant fuel shortages, long queues at petrol stations, and soaring import bills. The country was exporting crude oil and then importing refined fuel at a loss. It was an unsustainable paradox, and for decades, no one could fix it. That's where Aliko Dangote came in, not just as a businessman, but as a man on a mission to solve one of Nigeria's most persistent problems. Aliko Dangote is no ordinary businessman. Often compared to historical industrialists like Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller, he built Africa's largest conglomerate, spanning cement, sugar, salt, and more. But his most ambitious project by far was the Dangote Refinery. Frustrated by Nigeria's heavy reliance on imported fuel, Dangote decided to build a refinery that would not only meet Nigeria's entire domestic demand, but also export to the rest of Africa. It was a bold move. Critics said it was too risky, too complex, and too expensive. But for Dangote, it wasn't just about business. It was about national pride and economic independence. In his words, "If I don't do it, nobody will." He personally invested over $18 billion in the project, more than the GDP of some African nations, and secured private financing from both local and international banks. He also received backing from the Nigerian government. Construction of the refinery began in earnest around 2017 on a massive site in the Lekki Free Zone, Lagos, spanning over 2,600 hectares. Building a refinery of this scale required tackling several engineering and logistical challenges. First, Dangote had to build a dedicated port to receive oversized refinery components from abroad. Then came road construction, civil works, foundation piling, and power generation, all from scratch. Some equipment was so large it had to be custom fabricated overseas, including the crude distillation column, the largest of its kind ever made. The project faced delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic, global supply chain disruptions, and currency fluctuations. But through sheer determination, the refinery was topped out by 2023, and full test runs began in 2024. Everything, from utilities and tanks to pipelines and jetties, was built with the long game in mind. The facility isn't just massive, it's integrated, automated, and future-ready. The Dangote Refinery is not just a national project, it's a global collaboration. The main engineering, procurement, and construction (EPC) contractor was Engineers India Limited (EIL), along with key technical partners from the US, China, India, South Korea, and Europe. Over 30,000 workers were employed at peak construction, including engineers, welders, technicians, and logistics teams from around the world. Cutting-edge process technology was sourced from global leaders like UOP, Honeywell, and DuPont, while automation and digital control systems were designed for 24/7 monitoring. The refinery includes 75 tanks for crude and refined products, a 3 million barrel crude oil storage capacity, a dedicated power plant of 435 megawatts. It's also designed to produce Euro 5 quality fuels, complying with the highest global emission standards. In short, this is not a typical African refinery. This is world-class infrastructure built to compete globally. The Dangote Refinery is more than just an oil facility. It's an economic catalyst. Nigeria has long been a paradox, one of the world's top crude oil producers, yet almost entirely reliant on imported fuel. This refinery flips that script. By meeting 100% of Nigeria's domestic fuel demand, the country stands to save over $10 billion annually in import costs. But the impact doesn't stop there. The refinery has already begun exporting refined products, including diesel and jet fuel, to several African countries, and even to Europe and the United States. This marks a significant shift in regional energy dynamics, reducing West and Central Africa's dependence on European refineries. Beyond fuel security, the refinery is expected to stabilize the Nigerian naira, generate tens of thousands of direct and indirect jobs, and spark growth in related industries such as petrochemicals, transportation, and logistics. A project of this scale was never going to be without controversy. Delays in construction raised doubts, while the refinery's sheer dominance triggered debates about monopoly and private control of critical infrastructure. Some questioned the huge public incentives Dangote received, including duty waivers, land concessions, and government support. Others argue it was a necessary intervention where public refineries had failed for decades. As of 2025, with production already underway, many critics have become cautiously optimistic. The proof, as they say, will be in the performance. The Dangote Refinery isn't just Africa's largest, it's a monument to African ambition. Against all odds, one man and his team built what decades of state investment could not. It is a symbol of what's possible when vision meets execution, when entrepreneurship partners with infrastructure, and when Africa dares to solve its own problems at scale. Whether the refinery lives up to its full promise remains to be seen, but it has already changed the narrative. This is how the largest single-train refinery in the world was built, in Nigeria.